Bernie Sanders did a town hall with Fox News, and it was absolutely amazing. I highly encourage you guys to take a look at the whole thing. But the first question that was asked of him was absolutely sleazy. There were a lot of sleazy follow-up questions, and I'm going to show you guys the video in a second. But it was an opportunity for Bernie Sanders to finally address the fact that he's a millionaire. Take a look at this video, and we'll talk about it after.
Hey, Joe.
Hi, Senator Sanders. Now that your tax returns have been released and you have been identified as a millionaire and in the top 1%, will you pay your fair share? And how do you plan to apply the policies that you have been talking about enforcing on top earners? Thank you, Senator Sanders.
Well, I happen to believe, Joe, that we have an absurd tax system. And while millions of people today are paying actually more in taxes than they anticipated, Amazon, Netflix, and dozens of major corporations, as a result of Trump's tax bill, pay nothing in federal taxes. I think that's a disgrace. So today we announced now you raised the issue, I am a millionaire. Well, actually, this year we had $560,000 in income. And that's a lot of money. And that money, in my case, my wife's case, it came from a book that I wrote. Pretty good book. You might want to read it. It was a bestseller, sold all over the world, and we made money. So if anyone thinks that I should apologize for writing a best-selling book, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. But let me reiterate. I voted against. I guess on Fox News you said that I benefited from Trump's tax bill. Did you tell people that I voted against Trump's tax bill?
Sure, but you did benefit from it.
Yeah. But I voted against it. And I happen to believe that a tax bill written and pushed by Trump, who told the American people that that tax bill, some of you may recall, would not benefit the wealthy. Remember that? Oh, it's not going to benefit the wealthy. 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. So I think that's a bad idea. And in my view, people, whether it's me, you probably make a lot more money than I do. But whether it's me or you or anybody else, I think wealthy people and large corporations that are making billions in profits should start paying their fair share of taxes.
But Senator, to your point, and to Joe's point, your taxes do show that you're a millionaire. You did make $1 million in 2016, 2017. You're right, the 561 in 2018. But your marginal tax rate was 26% because of President Trump's tax cuts. So why not say, you know, I'm leading this revolution. I'm not going to take those.
Come on, we're doing. I paid the taxes that I owe. And by the way, why don't you get Donald Trump up here and ask him how much he pays in taxes?
We will.
Yeah, well, good. Well, I am eagerly awaiting your doing that.
Well, we'd love to have you.
We would love to have that question.
Get him up
We
here.
absolutely
And
will.
the president, I guess the president watches your network a little bit, right? Hey, President Trump, my wife and I just released 10 years. Please do the same. Let the American people know how much money I'm making.
All right. But just to wrap that up, you do spend a lot of time vilifying millionaires.
No, I don't vilify. The fact that I think people who are doing phenomenally well right now, as you know, for 40 years, we have seen a shrinking middle class. You've got 40 million people living in poverty. And today, it just so happens that the very wealthy are doing incredibly wealthy. It's not vilifying to say that people who have a whole lot of money, in some cases billions of dollars of wealth, they should pay their fair share of taxes.
Right. Well,
that's not vilifying.
Last question on this. A lot of millionaires and billionaires give a ton to charity. You gave 3.4%.
Yeah. My wife and I do give money to charity. All right? And we're proud to do what we did. There are others, you're quite right. There are people, Gates Foundation, do a phenomenal job. We do what we do.
That was just Fox News to a T. Those follow-up questions were so sleazy, every single one of them. But I have to admit, I wasn't a huge fan of Bernie Sanders' response. Now, I am in favor of Bernie Sanders. I'm definitely going to vote for the guy come the primaries, but I think he could have done a lot better he could have done a lot better of a job in his response there. So what Fox News what they try to do is they try to frame Bernie Sanders as this person who vilifies rich people. And now Bernie Sanders is a millionaire, and so he has effectively vilified himself. And his response was more like, yeah, no, I'm just vilifying the rich. And here's my take on this. I actually don't have a problem with Amazon paying $0 in taxes. And I know a lot of progressives are going to be like, whoa, what did you just say? Hear me out. Context matters. That's how the tax system was written for them. Is it their fault that they're abiding by the tax system? No, it's not. Is it Bernie Sanders' fault that he only paid like a 20-something% tax rate? No, it's not his fault. The fault is the tax code. And so what really matters is you need to focus on the platform that the person stands on. Now understand that yes, Bernie Sanders is a millionaire. And the richer that Bernie Sanders becomes, the more hesitant I am going to be in believing that he's going to actually follow through with the tax cuts. But when it comes to all the other candidates, he is by far the preferable candidate because he has consistently stood on this platform. And so, yeah, he made money off of books or whatever. That's all right. That's okay. He paid 22% taxes or whatever. That's all right. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that because he just followed the tax code. We all do the same thing. Every single one of us pays our quote unquote share, but it's whether or not that is a fair share. And so should we blame Jeff Bezos? I don't think so. And I know a lot of people will say, yeah, but Bernie Sanders, he doesn't lobby for, against the tax code and tries to lobby for tax cuts for the rich, whereas Amazon and Walmart, they'll continue to lobby for tax cuts for the rich. And so therefore we should vilify them. I still actually disagree with that because understand that in my view, the fact that money is speech in the first place is the problem. So when Walmart decides, you know what, I'm going to buy all these politicians, is it Walmart's fault? No, not really. They're just going off of this fiduciary responsibility that they have to their shareholders to try to basically rig the system in their favor. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually how capitalism works, and that should be encouraged. What should be established is a system that prevents corruption from happening in the first place. And so again, what really matters is the platform. And so his response to, I'm not vilifying, he immediately kind of started vilifying rich people and saying, like, it doesn't make any sense for these people to not be paying their fair share. But Bernie, you didn't pay the share that you would want millionaires to be paid. And later on in this town hall, he talks about what the marginal tax rate would be for people like Bernie Sanders, and he said it was 52%. So according to Bernie Sanders' logic, Bernie Sanders did not pay his fair share. But should we be upset about that? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I don't think Bernie Sanders should voluntarily give an extra portion in his taxes. I don't think he should pay his fair share unless the tax code specifies it. And so we need to advocate for a tax code system that makes sure that Bernie Sanders pays his quote unquote fair share. I would argue that the marginal tax rate should go up to 70 or maybe even 90%. But that's just my belief. I differ a little bit with Bernie Sanders on that front. So, and the other thing that Bernie Sanders did that I didn't really like is immediately in response to the vilifying question, once he decided to kind of slightly divert the attention towards the super, super rich, he then said, and how about you ask Donald Trump about his taxes? See, what you're doing there, though, is you're redirecting the issue to someone else as if it doesn't apply to me because it applies to Donald Trump more. The principle doesn't apply to me because the principle applies to Donald Trump more. That's faulty reasoning. I really don't like that he did that. Now, yes, I think that Donald Trump should share his taxes, but I don't think you should use that as a justification for, I'm good, because then you've just justified every millionaire. Someone who makes, $500-some-thousand a year, which is what Bernie Sanders made last year. You've just justified that, hey, they're good because Donald Trump Donald Trump's really rich. Amazon's really rich. We got to focus on them. I disagree with that line of reasoning. At the very end there, Fox News decided to follow up with another sleazy question about charity. Like, rich people contribute to charity. You only contributed 3.4%. And I feel like Bernie Sanders wasn't prepared for this question. I'm not surprised, honestly, because it's a very weird question to spin off of when it comes to the whole conversation about his taxes and the fact that he's a millionaire. But you understand, Fox, that the average percentage given to charity by rich people is less than 1%. So Bernie Sanders, there's a lot to say about this. Bernie Sanders is giving a lot more to charity than the average typical rich person. So what are you trying to say? Like, your argument is already immediately defeated there. But on top of that, guys, charity is honestly not a systemic solution. And I think that Bernie Sanders should have addressed this. And this is something that a lot of right-wingers like Ben Shapiro, they position themselves on this idea that charity can solve the world's problems. That's not true. That is so untrue. And so, for example, Ben Shapiro will argue that it would be effective if we had the church in charge of healthcare. And this is a lot of like Turning Point USA style arguments that charity should be involved in helping the poor and everything. But it's like, we have to look at how much charity gets and how big the problems are. So, for example, healthcare in the U.S. is some like $4 trillion right around there per year. That's how much it costs. Now, the church, the Christian church, raises roughly $32 billion in revenue. They use that money to pay pastors and they pay for churches and so forth. And so can they address the issue of healthcare alone? Absolutely not. There's no way. You'd have to have a huge flow of money into churches in order for them to be able to even tackle this problem. And so my line of reasoning, my response to Fox News would have been, why are you even talking about charity when the problems are so much more systemic that charity cannot possibly address? And then I would have provided numbers. But again, I understand Bernie Sanders was kind of put on the spot there. I just think, it was kind of sleazy that Fox News did this whole thing. But Bernie Sanders overall could have done a better job. I highly encourage you guys to take a look at the whole thing, the whole town hall. It's like an hour long. It should have been like 2 hours long because there were just so many good moments where Bernie Sanders really controlled the floor there and just totally dominated Fox News and mainstream media in general. It was honestly mainstream media versus Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders won. So don't get me wrong. When I critique Bernie Sanders, it's not me saying like I don't like the guy. It's just me saying like I think he could have done better. And so this is one of those instances where I think he could have done a little bit of a better job there.